that a person can go through to know that what they're working on is something that has reached a generation of people.
Oh my God.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business. Thanks.
You know, I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up and do the job.
Have you ever seen a film crash so hard that the failure itself becomes entertainment? That's what happened with Disney's live-action Snow White. Not just a misfire, but a cinematic implosion for the ages. This wasn't a flop, it was a flaming wreck people couldn't stop watching. The star of Disney's $370 million gamble just saw her supposed fairy tale morph into a real-time PR horror show, complete with more vacant seats than a midweek geometry class.
The movie is doing catastrophically. They spent $300 million and it currently has a 2.2 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
The movie has a major identity crisis.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
It's got extra musical numbers that are incredibly unnecessary that really add to that runtime, and let me go ahead and let you know that they're absolutely atrocious.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
This was meant to be the blockbuster, a reimagined classic with modern values and billion-dollar ambitions. What did the world get instead? A masterclass in how not to remake a legacy film. The story got buried under slogans. The charm? Gone. What replaced it was, well, this. And caught right in the storm? Rachel Zegler, touted as Disney's rising star, now center stage in what might be the most public unraveling of a lead actress in recent memory. She didn't just upset fans, she provoked them, calling the 1937 original weird, mocking the prince as a stalker, and going viral for offbeat interviews that felt less like promotion and more like sabotage. Worse, she documented her own collapse, Instagram clips, nervous giggles, entire cinemas that didn't need reservations because no one was showing up anyway. The cringe was cinematic on its own. Ticket sales tanked, showings sat empty, seat charts looked like the site was broken. But nope, people just weren't buying. Then came the brutal box office numbers, humiliating IMDb ratings, and a Disney PR team scrambling like mice before midnight.
It got destroyed at the box office. Here's the box office numbers. The Minecraft movie made $60 million on Saturday. Snow White made $2 million.
This wasn't just a financial failure, it was a $370 million identity crisis. And for Rachel, the fallout could be career-defining. So what really happened here? How did a billion-dollar bet turn into Hollywood's latest cautionary tale? Let's unpack how Snow White went from dream project to disaster reel. Let's rewind to March 25th, 2025, the night Rachel Zegler showed up to witness her big Disney moment, only for the universe to serve her a brutal dose of reality, because the audience didn't show up.
Now seating. Let's see how empty it is. I hope it's off the woke we go. I hope. Sound like I hear a couple of people.
No red carpet, no buzz, just rows of empty seats and an energy so dead even the popcorn machine seemed embarrassed. It looked less like a premiere and more like someone accidentally booked a theater for a PowerPoint presentation. Rachel wasn't alone though. She brought along a loyal entourage: Illa Mason, Jorge Mason, Remy, and Maria Isabel de Mason. But instead of rolling up to a glamorous premiere, they basically walked into a ghost town with surround sound. What should have felt like a celebration turned into a glorified private screening, and not in a good way. Then came the numbers, and they were just as painful. Thursday preview night only pulled in $3.5 million. That's not just underwhelming, that's a Category 5 disaster in Hollywood terms. Opening weekend, a dismal $43 million for a film that cost north of $250 million before the marketing blitz. That kind of return doesn't just spark internal meetings, it launches full-scale Disney boardroom evacuations. To put it in context, The Little Mermaid did $95 million in its opening weekend. Even Dumbo, a movie most people forgot existed, managed numbers comparable to Snow White on a budget half the size. This wasn't a weak launch, it was a cinematic humiliation. And if you were holding out hope that week 2 might save it, think again. The second week drop was a brutal 66%. The audience didn't just lose interest, they vanished like they'd touched a cursed apple. Meanwhile, TikTok, Reddit, and Twitter lit up with footage of desolate theaters and seat maps so empty they looked like test screens. The only thing going viral? The sheer scale of the failure. But then came the knockout punch, because the internet, as always, brought receipts. A resurfaced clip from months earlier showed Rachel confidently saying that despite her flaws and cracks, people would line up to see her work.
And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Reality check? They didn't. Instead, what lined up was a digital firing squad. Critics, fans, and casual observers roasting her in unison. Meme pages went wild. Comment sections exploded with captions like, "This didn't age well," and reality called, "Your carriage turned back into a pumpkin."
Oh wow, Snow White flopped. Who is surprised? You cast arguably the least genuine, most out of touch, and disliked person in her industry, and her industry is Hollywood. And the bad guy is Gal Gadot.
And that was just the beginning, because the collapse of Snow White wasn't a slow burn, it was an instant implosion. And the fallout? Still spreading. But the drama didn't end with empty theaters and bad reviews. No, behind the scenes, things were just getting started, and it was nothing short of a circus. Rachel Zegler once claimed playing Snow White was her lifelong dream, the role she'd waited for her whole life. A fairy tale, finally real. Except, based on her interviews, you'd think she couldn't stand the story she signed up for.
Audiences walk away from this film with an understanding of the true meaning of fairness, of what it means to be fair in this world. There is a message that's been carried on for almost 90 years now from the original animated classic. That is, fairness is what is within. Fairness is to do with your heart, the way you treat the people around you, and it has nothing to do with what you look like, and that's the misunderstanding between Snow White and the Evil Queen. I think it's such an important message, and the way that Disney has elevated it and brought it to this new audience is very special.
She trashed the original 1937 classic called Prince Charming creepy and dismissed the old fairy tale as outdated nonsense. According to Variety, Disney execs were already in full-blown panic mode over her comments, especially when she started throwing shade at entire political groups, basically saying they weren't welcome at the box office.
Producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms. Kind of tough.
People are like, oh wow, Snow White flopped. Who is surprised?
For someone who claimed this was her dream role, she sure made it sound like a nightmare.
Made a modernized feminist alternative.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension: racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
At Disney's D23 Expo, Rachel wrapped her speech with a hard political statement that left the crowd stunned and left Disney PR in shambles. That was the final straw. Producer Mark Platt had to personally fly out and ask her to cool it down. Not once, but twice. But the most brutal blow came from someone closer to home. Mark's own son, Jonah Platt. He took to Instagram to publicly call Rachel out, writing, "This is called adult responsibility and accountability." And her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Tens of thousands of people worked on that movie, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires. He ended with a warning shot. Narcissism is not something to be coddled. The post was deleted quickly, but not before screenshots made their way across every platform. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, her off-screen tension with Gal Gadot hit the spotlight.
They've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now, and how they had her tweet out like a little, "Yay, Snow White, can't wait, so excited, I love to play her." And she did it and got like millions of views, and they were like, "Good job, Rachel." And then she, like minutes later, followed it up with, "And never forget, free Palestine."
And isn't her co-star Jewish?
Yes. Yes, Gal Gadot, whatever.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
They tried, they flew an executive, one of the producers, out to go visit personally with Rachel Zegler to say, "Could you please take that down? Because We understand you can have your political views, but those aren't really helpful while you're trying to build an audience for a movie. Maybe you could save them for like your diary and your friends, but like maybe not, maybe just take the tweet down. And she wouldn't.
That my name is Gal and I'm Jewish. And we have had enough of Jew hatred.
First, Rachel called Gal a professional pageant queen. A backhanded compliment if there ever was one. Then, at the 2025 Oscars, the two presented together with all the chemistry of two people stuck on a bad Zoom call.
Please welcome Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot.
Visual effects push the boundaries of what we see on screen.
Their work makes the impossible seem possible.
With breathtaking ambition, they create magic that wraps its arms around our wildest imaginations.
Here are the nominees for Best Visual Effects.
But the real snub, Rachel's Instagram thank you post to the cast and crew, that completely left out Gal. No tag, no mention, nothing. The internet noticed instantly. Then came politics. Rachel posted Free Palestine statements, triggering backlash that landed squarely on Gal, an Israeli army veteran.
After posting Free Palestine, Gadot is from Israel and served in the Israeli army.
Let's just say, Disney wasn't equipped for this kind of firestorm. Because of Rachel's public statements, Gal Gadot, someone who had largely stayed out of the drama, suddenly found herself at the center of a digital firestorm. Threats flooded her inbox, hate campaigns popped up overnight, and the situation escalated so fast that Disney had to step in and pay for extra private security just to make sure Gal, a mother of four, could safely show up to work.
Would be a miscast in that sense. Instead, she gets her name from surviving a snowstorm.
Over a family movie, let that sink in. A film meant for kids turned into a geopolitical battleground. Rachel may have thought she was taking a stand, but she clearly underestimated the fallout.
Yes, it's all Rachel Zegler and her behavior. And if it was just one comment, it probably would have been forgotten by now. But it was comment after comment, and it was pissing off everybody, pissing off old Disney fans, pissing off new Disney fans, pissing off Trump supporters, pissing off all of America. And it became such a disaster that they had to shut her up, which was the smartest move they made. But the onus is all on her and Disney's reaction to it. And quite frankly, if she has said nothing, her movie probably still forgettable.
And while all this was unfolding, Disney's $270 million fairy tale was bleeding money fast. Between multiple reshoots, marketing chaos, and constant PR disasters, the movie was turning into an expensive mess. Then came the final nail. Just after the US presidential election, Rachel posted something that lit the internet and Disney headquarters on fire. In a now deleted Instagram story, she wrote, "May Trump's supporters never know peace. F Donald Trump." 2 sentences. That's all it took. Suddenly, what was already a fragile situation exploded into full-blown crisis mode. Disney's upper brass hit the panic button. Internal calls started flying, meetings were held, and once again, producer Mark Platt was dispatched to personally confront Rachel. Twice. This wasn't just about brand image anymore. It was financial survival. They were watching a billion-dollar brand burn in real time, with Rachel throwing gasoline at every opportunity. Eventually, she caved. A social media handler was assigned to review every single post leading up to the movie's March 21st release. Captions, comments, even Instagram stories. But by then, the internet had already passed judgment. Then came March 20th. Just hours before the movie's premiere, Rachel posted a heartfelt Instagram tribute. She called the film life-changing, gushed about 3 magical summers in London, and praised the greatest crew in the world. But Gal Gadot, nowhere to be found. No mention, no tag, not even a group photo that included her. Sure, some fans tried to explain it away. Maybe it was an honest mistake. Maybe Rachel forgot. But after the months of weird energy between the two, the Oscars tension, the shady pageant queen dig, yeah, no one was buying the accidental omission theory. This looked personal, like a quiet, passive-aggressive mic drop. And just when the dust seemed like it might settle, another storm broke. From the moment Rachel was cast as Snow White, controversy had been brewing. Many questioned the decision to cast a Latina actress in the role of a character traditionally portrayed as fair-skinned with skin white as snow. The backlash mirrored the one Halle Bailey faced when she was cast as Ariel. But unlike Halle, Rachel didn't take the diplomatic route. In a now-deleted post, she clapped back, "Yes, I am Snow White. No, I am not bleaching my skin for the role." Then came the real grenade. Y'all are losers obsessed with preserving the bloodline purity of a cartoon princess. Spoiler, that didn't exactly win hearts and minds. Rachel Zegler's casting as Snow White didn't just spark a conversation, it ignited a firestorm. From the moment Disney made the announcement, backlash poured in, and instead of calming the outrage, Rachel poured gasoline on it. In a 2022 Variety interview, she admitted that she was trending, not because people were excited, but because the internet was furious. And while some actors choose to ride out the storm quietly, Rachel leaned into the controversy. She didn't try to win skeptics over, she challenged them. In an interview with Extra, she called the 1937 classic weird and mocked the central romance by suggesting Prince Charming was basically a stalker.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be. Weird.
Yes, Disney had hinted at a modernized reimagining, but Rachel's tone made it sound less like a fresh update and more like she outright resented the source material. The audience didn't appreciate the attitude. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. If you hate the story so much, why take the role? That sentiment gained traction fast, feeding the narrative that Rachel's version of Snow White wasn't just different, it was disrespectful. But that was only the beginning. Controversy soon spread beyond the casting and storyline. In 2022, Game of Thrones actor Peter Dinklage took a swing at Disney during an episode of the WTF podcast. He criticized the studio for patting themselves on the back for casting a Latina lead, while still perpetuating what he described as a backward story about 7 dwarfs living in a cave.
And they got even crazier, and they decided that the dwarves in Snow White weren't woke enough.
Dinklage's comments went viral overnight. The conversation around inclusivity took a sharp turn, and suddenly, Disney was being called out for selective progressivism, prioritizing optics over authenticity. Then came Jackass star Weeman, who criticized Disney for ditching the dwarfs entirely and replacing them with CGI humanoids or ambiguous magical creatures. His take: the decision robbed dwarf actors of valuable roles in the name of surface-level PR moves.
You're replacing jobs that people could have as little people. Okay. Snow White and the 7 dwarfs, it's 4 dwarfs, you know?
Some praised both men for speaking out. Others accused them of making things worse. But regardless of where you landed, one thing was clear. The debate had gone nuclear. Disney responded within 24 hours, announcing they'd taken a different approach after consulting with the dwarfism community. The result, the 7 dwarves were scrapped and replaced with digitally rendered characters, and the public's reaction, not great. Critics said the new dwarfs looked stiff, soulless, and lacked all the charm that made the originals memorable. What was meant to be a thoughtful update came off as awkward and hollow, a compromise that pleased no one.
The reaction has been absolutely horrible. It is the worst box office from a Disney live action remake that they've ever done.
I mean, they're projected to lose between 2 and 400 million.
By this point, backlash had become the new normal for Snow White. Disney's $270 million project was a PR minefield, and anticipation had turned to dread. So when it came time for the premiere, Disney made a surprising choice. They downplayed it. According to Variety, the big red carpet premiere was scrapped. Instead of a glitzy Hollywood rollout, the film was shown quietly during a daytime screening at the El Capitan Theater on March 15th. No spectacle, no live fanfare. Even the European premiere, originally set for London's famed Leicester Square, was quietly moved to a remote castle in northern Spain. No press, no interviews, just silence. What does that tell you? That Disney was trying to dodge another round of headlines? That they were hoping to release the film and disappear before another controversy hit? Or maybe it was their way of saying, we know this isn't going to go well, and they were right. From box office numbers to online sentiment, the film tanked hard. A beloved fairy tale had become a Hollywood disaster. So what went wrong? Was it the script, the tone-deaf modern rewrite, the casting backlash, or was it Rachel Zegler herself, a rising star who seemed to alienate fans, clash with co-stars, and self-sabotage her own project project with reckless interviews and social media posts. In the end, this wasn't a magical comeback for Snow White, it was a cautionary tale for Disney. Fairy tales don't always end happily ever after, especially not when the villain isn't a wicked queen, but your own lead actor. Now we want to hear from you. Was this remake doomed from day one, or did the drama just drag it under? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.